In this video, we'll learn how to manage information spaces within the Business Objects Explorer application. The first thing we'll do is open up the Business Objects Explorer application by going to the Applications tab within the Launchpad and selecting Explorer. At this point, we'll be transported to the Explorer homepage from Business Objects. The first screen that you'll notice, or that you'll see, will be the list of information spaces that are currently available to you. These information spaces contain data that have already been created on your behalf. There are many ways to explore information and/or data within the Business Objects Explorer application. One way to explore information or data is to upload an Excel spreadsheet directly. You can do this by simply selecting the Browse button on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen to select an Excel spreadsheet and upload that spreadsheet directly into the Business Objects Explorer application. This will allow you to use the Explorer application to browse that information from that Excel spreadsheet. Another way to explore information is by creating an information space. To create an information space, simply select the Manage Spaces link at the upper right-hand corner of the screen. On the Manage Spaces tab, you'll notice on the left-hand side all of the data sources that are available to you to create a new information space. For this example, we have a customer master data that's available to us on the left-hand corner of the screen underneath Sources. As we select the actual data source that's available to us, you'll notice that there are many information spaces that have already been created on this data source. For this demonstration, we will create a new data source or a new information space on the customer master data source. To create a new data source, simply select the new information space. At this point, we'll need to give this information space a new name. So I'm going to call this New Customer Master IS for information space. I'll give a description. In this case, I'll provide my description as this information or the data of this will come from the customer master table. And now I want to select or enter in keywords that would be applicable to this information space, so that when I go and search out information spaces within the Explorer application, that these are keyword or tagged accordingly. So the keywords for this particular information space I'm going to select are going to be Customer, Master, and SAP BW, since that is the data source which this information is coming from. You'll notice a couple of other components within the Properties tab of the information space. One is whether or not this will become available directly on our home page within the Launchpad, or the selection of where this information space will exist. So we have the ability to save these information spaces to personal folders like My Favorites, or if you have the ability to save to public folders, you can save them in a public folder out in the repository. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll go ahead and save this in our Favorites folder. Notice the status is blank at this point. That will remain blank until we index this information space. On the second tab underneath Objects, you'll notice that the information provider, the info provider itself, is once again customer master data, and underneath that you'll notice all of the attributes that are available to you to enter into this information space. So an attribute or a facet is essentially a component of data that is available within that info provider. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll simply add a few facets to this information space. In order to add a facet, we can simply select or highlight that facet and click the arrow, or we can double click on a facet. Also notice that in the Facets, Measures, and Filters area, there are a few options. So we can once again predefine the way that these data elements will be sorted as they're returned in the information space, whether they be A to Z, C to A. If they're numeric in nature, they can be smallest to largest or largest to smallest. Or we can organize them by the number of occurrences in terms of row counts that would be returned for this particular information space. We also have the ability to create groupings of facets, create new calculated key measures by taking facets and creating calculations on them, or we can actually rename the facets themselves by using the three buttons that I've just highlighted. Underneath the Filters section, if we had predefined filters created from this information provider, we could simply select that and pull them over into the Filters section. In this particular example, we don't have predefined filters, but but we could do that if those filters were made available. The next tab underneath creating an information space is Scheduling. In this particular case, none is selected, but we can actually take an information space and we can schedule it to run one time, or we can schedule that information space to run periodically. What that scheduling means is that we are re-indexing that information space. So if information changes from the back-end database, we can schedule this information space to re-index every periodic period of time as we see fit. And we can simply do this by selecting whether we want this information space to be run every minute, hour, day, or week, and then we can schedule a range for that. For our purposes of this demonstration, we'll go ahead and schedule it at no times. We'll go ahead and manually index this particular information space. On the last tab is a personalization component for the Explorer application. Since we are going to kind of pass on the information space exploration for this particular example, but if you choose to, you can at some point personalize this information space so that users that use it then the data gets filtered based upon another information space. So for instance, if you filtered information on another information space, you can simply select that information space and then you can select a facet in which you want to relate back to that existing information space. So in this particular case, what we're saying is that for this information space, we want to filter our information space by another one that was created previously called Customer Master Data. And we're going to filter that based upon the account group. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this information space or the personalization component. Go back in. Now that I've created my information space, the next thing that I need to do is go ahead and index that. When we're back in the Manage Spaces area, you'll notice that our new information space is called New Customer Master IS. So we have the description. This will provide data from the Customer Master table. So in order to index this information space, simply select the Index Now button. This will now index that query against that information, and as you can see now, the status is now green. So that now this new information space is now available for us to create and explore the information provided within.